Welcome back to another video. Today's video is on IMO 2024 question 5. Turbo the Snail plays a game on the board with 2024 rows and 2023 columns. There are hidden monsters in 2022 of these cells. Initially, he does not know where any of the monsters are, but he knows that there is exactly one monster in each row, except the first row and the last row, and that each column contains at most one monster. Turbo makes a series of attempts to go from the first row to the last row. On each attempt, he chooses to start on any cell in the first row, then repeatedly moves the adjacent cell sharing a common side. If he reaches the cell with a monster, his attempt ends and he is transported back to the first row to start a new attempt. But the monsters do not move, and Turbo remembers whether or not each cell he has visited contains a monster. If he reaches any cell in the last row, his attempt ends and the game is over. Determine the minimum value of n, for which Turbo has a strategy that guarantees reaching the last row on the nth attempt or earlier, regardless of the locations of the monsters. To start, let's look at this diagram. We have a red oval for Turbo the Snail. He can either move to the side, or he can move down. Well, we'll look at it from the monster point of view. He can either move right and discover there's a monster, or he can move down and discover there's a monster. Let's look at the cases where he encounters a monster. If he moves down and encounters a monster, he knows that in this area, the next row is free, the row where the monster is free, and the column below the monster is free. But this does not tell him where other monsters are. So, in the best case scenario, either side is able to lead him below the monster and thus complete his victory. But he could move to the left, discover a monster, and then move to the right and down, and discover also a monster blocking his path. So moving down doesn't actually give you much information. But let's look at the case where he moves to the side and encounters a monster. Well, let's look at this case. He encounters a monster on the side. Well, he's going to restart. Do we want to check the square in the middle? The answer is no, because it doesn't make sense to check the square in the middle. The better move is to check 2 from where the monster is and down. Because if that is a monster, the solution is simple. Just go through the middle and complete the puzzle. But what if it's not a monster? What if it's perfectly safe? Do you now want to check the middle? Maybe, but if you think about it, when you check the middle and discover it's a monster, you know the rest of the row is safe. But conversely, you can check the rest of the row and determine it's a monster without wasting an attempt. And from there, it can be generalized to the exact same thing as the first row, where you know where the monster is and the rest of the row is safe. So, let's put that into practice. Considering he starts from the first row, he can move instantly down. It's unlikely to be a monster, but if it is, it doesn't matter, just use that as your first row. He can check the entirety of the first row and find where the monster is. Then he moves 2 over from it and down. If that's a monster, it's already solved as seen earlier. But if it isn't, he'll move until he encounters a monster. And if he does, then he'll just go back to 2 down and then go to the right to finish the journey. But if he doesn't, then we know that the second monster is diagonally down from the first, meaning there's no clear path. But now that you know that, you can repeat the same pattern, 2 over from the monster on that row and down. Because if it is, again, it's solved the same way. And this can be repeated all the way until you reach the bottom, or failure to do so, you reach another monster, in which case it's solved by just moving back to a column below where you've already found a monster. But this only applies if the first monster is on the edge. What if it's in the middle? Well, from starters, you can see that this case can only happen if the first monster on the second row is in the middle. If it's anywhere else, following the same pattern just now, it's already solved, so there's no need to get trapped like this. So, What if it is in the middle on the second row? Then since the first row is safe, just move one over, and then you just move down and you solve the thing. Because there can't be monsters on those rows anymore, and you can just go below all the monsters and just go straight down the column. So at most, you only need to hit monsters twice to find a solution. So on your third try, you always get to the bottom. And that is why the number of attempts needed is only 3. Thanks for watching.